Rev up your engines!
Well, you know, I'm not a Volkswagen fan. Well, here's a guy who bought a Volkswagen. He's not a fan of it either. Charles DeLuca says, Volkswagen oil change craziness. Scotty, you're talking about the importance of oil changes and how unreliable Volkswagens are. Well, I think this might explain it. I just bought a 2024 Jetta, and the maintenance schedule says the first oil change should be at 10,000 miles, and after that, an oil change every 20,000 miles. Not kilometers, miles. Can you believe that? No wonder Volkswagens have oil consumption problems. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that they tell them, well, the first time change it at 10, but then change it every 20,000 miles. Oil gets dirty. No machine is perfect. The pistons aren't going to seal perfectly. The more dirt is in your oil, the more friction, the faster the piston rings are going to wear out, the faster everything's going to wear out. And then they're saying, oh, I change your oil every 20,000 miles. Look, we're Volkswagen. We're the green company. You don't use as much oil. You only change it every 20,000 miles. Yeah, well, then if you do that, it's going to be burning oil, which a lot of Volkswagens do, right? And of course, you can't just say something like that without having a disclaimer. You could probably get away with changing your oil every 20,000 miles if the only thing you did was go 60 miles an hour on a highway, because highway mileage at a steady speed, like 60 miles an hour, the wear and tear on your engine is like 1/10 of what it is on regular stop-and-go traffic. 20,000 miles on a highway would be equivalent to like 2,000 miles stop-and-go traffic. So you could get away with it, but you'd have to do nothing but highway driving. That's how those big diesel trucks get away with not changing their oil much. The diesel, which is a better lubricant anyways, but they're on the highway all the time going high speeds with the big 18-wheelers. So they can get away with it. Plus, they hold like many gallons, not quarts of oil, but many gallons. So it's a different setup. But they are going down the road 60, 65 miles an hour all the time. There isn't any wear and tear. You don't get all the dirt. As you drive down the road at higher speeds, the impurities are burnt out of your engine. The old expression, the Italian tune-up, which meant drive your car real fast on the highway for a while. It actually does work. To some extent, it will burn out impurities. Well, here's an interesting one. Nearly half of U.S. electric vehicle drivers are considering switching back to gasoline. The figure was 47%. That's pretty close to half, right? Well, it turns out that a bunch of people that are driving EVs now are thinking this is kind of a pain in the butt. I've had people bring me electric vehicles. I gotta say, more than half of them said to me, well, it's a good thing I didn't buy it. I'm just leasing it because my next one, I'm going to go back to get a Toyota RAV4 or a Toyota Camry. They don't like the inconvenience of electric cars, what they cost. The leases are relatively cheap now because, of course, they're trying to get them out there. So if you're really thinking about an electric car, you know what my advice is? Lease one. See what a pain in the butt it is. Get the shortest term lease you can at the lowest price and see what happens, right? Go that route. Why put your money into the stupid things? Because you're going to lose your money if you change your mind after you already bought one. $67,000 Volvos, when they were a year old, they're going for $25,000 to $30,000. Less than half the price. And these are cars that had 15,000, 20,000 miles on them because people have realized it doesn't fit in with their lifestyle. They don't want to deal with having to keep thinking, gee, do I have enough range to go where I want to go? Is there a charger if I'm taking a trip? And then you get there and find out the stupid thing isn't working. I mean, every once in a while, I get to a gas station when I'm traveling across the country and it doesn't work or one pump doesn't work. Big deal. There's one across the street, down the road. There's millions of them. And not so for electric chargers. So, if half, practically, of the people who own EVs are thinking of, hey, I'm going to get a regular car next time, that doesn't bode well for the electric car industry because these are the early people who decided to try it out. They were interested in it. They went out of their way to get an electric car, and then they're thinking, gee, this thing isn't panning out so good. They're not that old, the cars, right? Wait till they start breaking down, and then the used ones are worth nothing. Neighbor here in Rhode Island, his friend hit a curb with his Tesla. It totaled the car because the battery got damaged. And the insurance company's like, well, we're not going to spend $25,000 for a new battery and then fix the broken wheel. Here, we're totaling the car. Take it away. Interesting. Almost half the people who own them now are thinking, hey, I don't like this. I'm going to get rid of it. Now, here's a hilarious one where figures mean nothing, okay? The story is, Electric charging stations in greater Houston area have increased over 30%. All right, you think, wow, it's increased over 30% from last year. The greater Houston area has a population of 7.5 million people, right? It's a lot of people. But, there's 30% more chargers now. There's like 383 chargers for 7.5 million people. But the headline is, it's 30% more than last year. These figures are meaningless, people. They're meaningless. And I really had to dig to find out how many stations they actually have and what the population is. But they're big bragging, it's 30% more than last year. Blah. And of course, we live in the woke world too. So listen to this. You can't help but laugh. The city of Houston applied for a federal grant from Joe Biden's administration that would allocate $15 million to expand charging stations in low-income areas. Why are you going to put charging stations in low-income areas? They can't afford to buy an electric car. And this is the same administration that wants to put a 100% tariff on Chinese electric cars to keep cars more expensive, right? You think, okay, let's have cheap Chinese cars. Low-income people can buy them, No. But they're going to put charging stations with government money in Texas in low-income areas, right? I mean, they don't have electric cars. You might as well just have the government pay to put Rolls-Royce service stations in low-income areas, right? It's insanity. Oh, yeah, that's 30% more. Then you find out, it's less than 400 stations for 7.5 million people. It's just too much, It is just too much that people fall for this stuff, and they keep pushing it. And our taxpayer dollars going down the toilet for a system that pretty much is set up for immediate failure, especially if you build the charging stations in low-income areas, right? The people aren't going to afford the cars that you plug in, and if the rich people go to the low-income areas, well, that's great for the low-income area people. They can rob the rich people as they come in and charge their cars. I mean, come on. This has gotten comical. All right, everybody's worried about the Chinese cheap electric cars. Well, Hyundai's jumping in, and they're Koreans. They're supposed to be our friends. Hyundai is reviewing a Casper Electric, a low-cost EV. They claim it's going to have a range of 196 miles. Who knows whether that's true or not? But if the Koreans start making cheap ones, what are they going to start putting a tariff on Korea, right? They can't. They're our friends. We've got a whole bunch of soldiers still there. Since the Korean War, 1953, they still got all those soldiers over there. No one knows what they're doing there. So we can't go after them. Where are they going to go after them next? Or with the Koreans? They're like the Chinese, but they're not communists, right? But we need to put a tariff on their stuff, too, because we can't compete with cheaper electric cars. We only have expensive, stupid ones like Tesla that no right person in their mind would want to buy. I mean, let's face the fact. Did you study the other day that 47% of the people who own electric cars in the United States are already considering a normal car and getting rid of their electric car because of the inconvenience. So watch out, America. The Koreans are going to be making cheap electric cars too. So maybe somebody will buy the ones that are lower priced. People who want smaller range, 196 miles is what they claim. Who knows what they actually get, but fine for a runaround city car. If they're cheap enough, maybe they could start by selling little cheap runaround cars. That'd be a second car for people, right? It makes a lot more sense. Ease people in. Don't throw the baby in the deep end, right? That's what these electric car manufacturers should realize. Not big monstrosity vehicles, which, of course, they always want to sell because there's a higher profit margin. The more a car costs, the more profit margin they have, right? They're not into making inexpensive cars because they don't make as much profit on them. Well, in this case, maybe they should start thinking things over a little bit if they're trying to push electric cars. Give up with these big, gigantic electric cars and go for smaller ones. Now, here's something totally hilarious. See, the Ford Lightning electric trucks, they're being towed. They're being told by Ford after they were doing testing. So they're testing the trucks, they ran out of electricity, and then they told them back to the Ford plant to charge them up, I guess. You'd think they could have charged them and driven them back, but no. They're towing them. It's kind of a bad advertising for the company. We tested our electric trucks, and then when they ran out of electricity, we towed them back. How they can try to sell these things to people with a straight face is beyond me. I mean, I'm laughing about it because I don't own one. I'm not going to be stranded in the middle of nowhere with an electric vehicle that has no battery power. You got to recharge the battery, so then you got to tow them to a charger and charge them up, right? But Ford is testing them in their own test grounds, and they're towing them back instead of driving them. I mean, bad PR alone. I'm sure Ford didn't want people to see these things, but other people have taken the picture to see, hey, why are they towing those things? Well, they tested them. Now they're towing them back. Do you really want to buy an electric truck? Think about it, you know? Maybe if you got a spare tow truck to bring yourself home, yeah, kind of defeats the purpose of it, you know? Just like the Tesla superstations in California where they got giant diesel generators. So when they're really busy, there's not enough power in the area, they turn on the diesel generators to generate electricity to charge the cars, which of course the diesels pollute. It's very inefficient generating your own electricity with the diesel generator. So all kinds of energy is being wasted just to keep this facade up that these electric cars with batteries work. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.